Tonight, FBI and Homeland Security officials are warning U.S. law enforcement about the potential for terror inspired by that deadly ISIS attack in Moscow targeting a concert hall.
And there was also an earthquake. I'm not trying to connect this to anything, just since we're talking about earthquakes, the magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck off the coast, Heightened County in eastern Taiwan. The car in front of it's going backwards. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Wait, why are you coming back on me? Oh, snap. If you can see, this looks like CGI.
Middle MAGA.
So I guess we have another conspiracy theory that is trending towards actually being a true concern, and that is this eclipse. And it's been a lot of people have been asking me about this eclipse thing, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And I looked into it, and the same day that I'm looking into it today, I see that there was an alert sent out. And this is somewhat breaking news. This is pretty serious from the standpoint of they did the same type of alert during, for the stuff that happened over in Russia, the terrible attack that happened over there. And we're seeing an alert here in the States. ABC News is reporting.
Security warning right here in the U.S. from the FBI and Homeland Security, warning of potential threats to public gatherings. The timing of this and why they're concerned tonight. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, with late reporting.
Tonight, FBI and Homeland Security officials are warning U.S. law enforcement about the potential for terror inspired by that deadly ISIS attack in Moscow targeting a concert hall. The concern, according to the bulletin, violence targeting mass gatherings such as sports stadiums, concert venues, or houses of worship in the United States. Law enforcement told...
That's the exact same warning. That's why I had that article up that they had for overseas when that tragedy happened. I believe it was at a theater.
Targeting a concert hall. The concern, according to the bulletin, violence targeting mass gatherings such as sports stadiums, concert venues, or houses of worship in the United States. Law enforcement told to be on the lookout for any suspicious activity. The bulletin coming just days before millions will gather to watch the eclipse on Monday. Authorities say following the Moscow attack, ISIS and its supporters celebrated the assault and shared graphic and violent attack footage, the terror group calling for similar attacks in the United States.
I'm told U.S. law enforcement is being urged to take this bulletin seriously. Sources say ISIS remains a very real threat.
What's happening with this eclipse? What is it? It's a total solar eclipse. And that's what I've been looking to say, well, what's different than that? There's a little bit of difference here. When I'm looking at it, they say that an eclipse that could be compared to this eclipse that's happening April 8th, Monday, hasn't happened in 100 years. Now, we've had other types of eclipses, but this one is a total solar eclipse. Here's a simulation for each state on how it's going to look. It's not a total eclipse or a total blackout for every area. But here's what I've seen. I saw this video on X, and this video kind of shows you. So it's going through Oregon, and it's showing you we're in Idaho. It's showing you how Montana. It's showing you how big the blackout's going to be. How close are you to that path? And I'll show you that path here in a second as well. So you see, it's not going to be a total blackout for anyone. For those in that path, that's going to be pretty freaky to see a total blackout. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I think I've seen plenty of eclipses like that, where you put on the little glasses. We just had one, I believe, late last year. I don't know what type it was. I forget. But Colorado, there's the Colorado. Minnesota, pretty close. South Carolina, pretty close to the path. But I know Indiana's on the path. Ohio's on the path. Ooh, close. We're looking at who's going to get the total blackout. So a lot of them get that kind of crescent sun, which is weird to say or see. That's a cool video for them to do that. I haven't fact-checked it, so hopefully that is true. But let's take a look at the path. This is the path for the total solar eclipse, depending on where you are in the country. People are going to be acting a fool just because it's 2024. I'm not I'm not taking anything for granted. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not saying that there is even going to be an election. I don't even know. I don't know what's going to happen. Massimo says already in 2 days, a total solar eclipse will cross North America from Mexico to Canada. Across most parts of the U.S., it will be the most visible and longest total solar eclipse for the United States in 100 years, with a central duration of 4 minutes and 28 seconds. And here it is here. So what we're seeing is the path of totality. And that's going right up through Texas, coming all the way up through, Pennsylvania, Ohio. That's where you're going to see the total or close to total blackout. So people are trying to, kind of make it and hype it up. And sometimes the hype is not a problem, but the hype is where all that stuff comes from. So I don't want to hype it up, but it is coming. And I am interested in it from a scientific standpoint, looking at it. It's just when the moon passes directly between the Earth and the sun. Indiana is a very particular important spot. And I went to the Indiana website. This is the Indiana, I don't even know what this is. It's Indiana Gov, but then you have the Department of Homeland Security on top of that. So they have a website it's called Total Solar Eclipse, and it's a very expansive website here. There's actually a lot of good information on here. They say here's the total solar eclipse. They have an educational section on here. They have the 101 like safety plans or whatever. Yeah, which is that's pertinent. You should be safe looking at it. How it works. So they have a section on here. This is the government website. They have a section on here about how it works. And let's check that one out, because I'm totally ignorant on this. It's kind of fun looking at stuff that I'm not really knowledgeable on.
Eclipse occurs when the moon moves between the Earth and the sun, blocks the sun's light, and casts a shadow on the Earth. When the moon completely covers the bright disk of the sun, that's a total solar eclipse, and it happens roughly every year and a half somewhere on Earth. A partial solar eclipse is more common, happening at least twice a year. A lunar eclipse, on the other hand, is where the moon moves behind the Earth, so it's now the Earth blocking the sun's light on the moon, creating a shadow on it with a red tint. The easy way to remember the difference is to remember what gets darker. With the solar eclipse, the sun gets darker, and during a lunar eclipse, the moon does. A solar eclipse is a rare event that not many get to see, because the moon's shadow is relatively small. This limits the locations on Earth that get to see it. You have to be on the sunny side of the planet, and you have to be in the path of the moon's shadow. So, if you find your area in the path of totality one year, you've hit the jackpot, because on average, that same spot on Earth will only get to see a solar eclipse every 375 years. During a solar eclipse, the moon casts a shadow with two parts, the umbra and penumbra. The moon's umbra is part of the moon's shadow where the entire sun is blocked by the moon. In space, it's a cone extending some 400,000.
So there you see it. That's basically what's happening there. So it's just a special moment where all you could say the stars align, kind of loosely. And that's what's going to happen. So you will see darkness somewhere. And that video I showed actually shows you what time it was going to happen in every different place. I forgot. And please add to this. I need to crowdsource the truth. So comment if you know anything about this stuff. Christian posts standing by for government, false flags, and general nonsense. Not much hysteria around here. Someone tells me down south, says people are more tense. Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen anything organically other than online, so I don't know. But, who knows? I used to live in Detroit. They used to wild out on, Devil's Night? The night before Halloween. So people just use any type of excuse to wild out. So hopefully that does not happen. But let's take a look at some of the discussion around it. I went to Marcus Rogers, and he's very controversial. So I'm not getting into really any of his controversy. A lot of people like him, don't like him. I think he's a great streamer. I just like great streamers. That's why I talk about people like Keffels and people. Sometimes people are like, you like Keffels? Yeah, Keffels is a great streamer. I almost don't. The content is almost irrelevant. But I got from him. He had a great live talking about it. So I kind of used that along with kind of looking at some other stuff on it. And the solar eclipse aligns with biblical verses. So I'm looking at I'm not very knowledgeable on the Bible, so I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at Joel chapter 2, verse 31 mentions, the sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and awesome day of the Lord comes. And that's a passage that he mentioned during this. And he didn't make any definitive takes on it, but he's just saying that this, could have something. Here's my take on all of this is it could have a spiritual significance. It absolutely could. Why wouldn't it? But it might not be something that is something tangible that you can see. To me, it could be what if this is marks the change somehow of a different trajectory? Because I talk about where is our country at, or where is anything at right now that you want to talk about across the world. What trajectory is it on? Will it spiritually affect that trajectory or the viewpoints of people? I don't know. Who knows that? It's really not. I don't know if it's even possible to know that. So the effects of it there could be effects. I am not ruling that out. As far as something that we can tangibly see or talk about, no, that's not what I'm expecting, but who knows? Christian says, yes. Christian says, supposedly it will pass over multiple towns' name. So is that true? Are there multiple towns? See, in that path that I was showing you, and I think I have some stuff on that. Let me take a look here. I think I have some tough stuff on that. I was looking up. I'm like, what is this? So the Christian is, saying that it's going to pass over multiple towns that have biblical reference with the name at least Nineveh, and that is significant. Here's what I got from that. I have some notes on that because I did see that. I was like, I don't know what the context is there. And so here's what I believe I have on that. In the Bible, Nineveh is most prominently referenced in the book of Jonah. Nineveh is described as a great but wicked city. God commands Jonah to go to Nineveh to preach repentance. Initially, Jonah tries to flee, but eventually goes to Nineveh, where his warning leads the entire city, from the king down to the common people, to repent, and God spares the city from destruction. Nineveh also appears in historical and prophetic contexts in other books where its eventual destruction is prophesied, highlighting its significance as a major city. So that's a very important city. Those are just notes I took from looking up on it. So we'll see what isn't going to go through multiple cities. There are some things that are unusual about this. We just had an earthquake. An earthquake in New York. When was the last time? I didn't even fully cover that. I
had some work going on outside my house, and I'm like, what the heck did those guys do? Because everything just started falling off the shelves, and just got a pretty big rattle and a pretty big scare. My dog ran for cover. It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced.
And so things actually fell off the shelves at your place. What other damage are you learning of in your area?
We're just doing an assessment now. I haven't heard of any significant damage right now. So I was just talking to our borough hall. So they're right now going into the process of seeing if there's any other damage. And we do have a reservoir right in our backyard, too. So there's some concern with that as well. So.
Okay, and we're just getting another update. It is back to being a 4.8 earthquake, the official word from the U.S. Geological Survey.
And there was also an earthquake. I'm not trying to connect this to anything, just since we're talking about earthquakes. This one happened, I believe, was on the 6th. Was it on the 7th? So that was right before 4.8. It looks like it was 4.7. It is the search and rescue team in Taiwan. This is a photo on 4/7, so I think it happened on 4/7. They had a 7.2 that rattled Taiwan. Oh, it was on April 3rd. So they were under tsunami warnings, I believe. The magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck off the coast, Hualien County in eastern Taiwan, causing 13 unlived, injuring over 1,100 people, 6 missing as of this article. This is from, I think it's from the same earthquake, 7.2 earthquake. Did not independently confirm, but just take a look how crazy this is right here. Let me see if I can make the screen bigger. This is insane. So there's a car driving. You're seeing a car driving, and they're in a mountainous region. And you know where this is going. An earthquake in a mountainous region. The car is shaking right now. So they're just stopped. They're like, whoa, what's going on? Could you imagine driving up a mountain and it's just shaking? I'm in the mountainous region here. I mean, that's just terrifying. That's like a worst case scenario. So then this car is going backwards, and then so you're behind that car. You're like, whoa, I don't know where you're going. I'm going backwards too. This car is in reverse with the camera. The car in front of it's going backwards. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Wait, why are you coming back on me? Oh, snap. If you can see, this looks like CGI. The boulder comes off the mountain and hits the car in the back. And then this one driver is just going back. I mean, it looks like a video game. And the driver, the rocks are flying. The boulders are flying like somebody was on top of the mountain, like Zeus was on top of the mountain throwing them. What an insane video. I assume it's real. It's hard to tell with the AI, but this is crazy because you know something's wrong if you see that car was around the bend, so it must have seen those boulders coming. And you're behind the car, you know something's coming. And then so that car is backing up almost into you, and then you see the boulder crash. I mean, it looks like some kind of crazy CGI movie. And then more boulder. Look at this boulder flying. That's insane. Boulder just comes flying down, boom, right in the back of the car. And then now you go back in full reverse. Who knows if you're gonna go in reverse into a boulder? But then that car did good driving here. Reverse back, then another one comes flying, rolling down at the car. And then I think another one comes flying. One more comes flying, if I'm not mistaken. There it is. That one was crazy. Came in at high velocity. Barely missed that white car and just came going. That's crazy. You know, things like this just remind you that we're peons. In the grand scheme of this thing, we are peons that can be crushed in a second. It's like somebody threw them. I mean, it looked like Zeus was on top of the mountain or something like that. I didn't want to put God into it, but just like some giant was on top of the mountain, just throwing the pebbles down the down the step stool or something. Ray Studio says, I used to say we are not in the end times, but after reading Matthew and Mark, I don't know at all. Jesus says, watch out because no one knows except God the Father. Even Jesus and the angels don't know. Yeah, I don't even like to guess. I'm more looking at guessing the actions of fellow citizens or common people acting a fool. But yeah, so I don't guess on the end times. I'm not even knowledgeable enough to even talk about that stuff, but it is interesting to read on.
Middle MAGA.